You know that feeling when you wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep, when you push through your day running on empty, wondering where your energy went? Here's something most people don't know, that fatigue may actually be happening inside your cells. That's why I've been using anti-factor lipids powder from Nutritional Therapeutics for years. I don't go a day without it. It's based on over 20 years of research and a patented process called membrane lipid replacement, which actually repairs the damaged components of your cell membranes, restoring your cell's ability to produce energy the way they did when you were younger. Clinical studies show anti-factor can reduce fatigue by up to 40%. Just 1 or 2 scoops a day. Mix it in a smoothie like I do, sprinkle it on food, and you're giving your body the science of youthful energy. Anti-Factor Lipids Powder comes in 2 convenient sizes. For more information and to order, just call 800-982-9158, 800-982-9158, or go to antifactor.com. That's antifactor.com for Anti-Factor Lipids Powder. Welcome back to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. It's our weekly Q&A with Leyla. Maybe we should rename it Just Ask Leyla, parentheses, and Dr. Hoffman will chime in. That might be appropriate. So, but we'll leave it the way it is. It's Q&A with Leyla every week. And part of our podcast series, we had some great guests this week. I actually talked to a couple of interesting guys who are heading up an institute for the study of psychedelic medicine. And that's quite fascinating because, you know, in the old days, it used to be like, drop acid and, achieve enlightenment, somehow.
Oh, right.
And, Timothy Leary and, tune in, turn on, whatever, and drop out and drop acid. And right now it's much more scientific. And it's so interesting is that there was a birthday party for one of the kids staying at our house. And one of the parents is a guy who's an analyst for a investment bank, which looks at investment opportunities in the biomedical field. So one of the jobs you can get if you have a molecular biology degree or a chemistry degree is you could make more money than like teaching at a university by working at a wealthy investment bank, advising them on investment opportunities. What he said was, he says, this is a burgeoning area of startups, of companies that are developing psychedelic medication based on psilocybin, based on, like that toad sweat compound.
Oh my God.
That, is, and, or,
wow.
They're taking the stuff and they're synthesizing it, or they're tweaking it, or they're developing a patented process for synthesizing it. And these companies one of the companies was just acquired by Eli Lilly for over $2 billion. And so psychedelic medicine is not just like, recreational drug use.
It's not a fly-by-night thing. It's actual therapy.
It's going to become part of psychiatry. And, especially for treatment of really refractory depression or PTSD. We've seen some documentaries about how soldiers are sometimes who've been exposed to combat, they have bad PTSD and they're suicidal, and then they undergo this type of treatment. And it's hit or miss. It doesn't always work, but there's a high degree of breakthroughs for them so that they can kind of rewire their brain circuitry and come to terms with some of their traumatic experiences. And under guided, not just like,
It's got to be guided.
Got to be guided. It's very important. So
there's a such thing as a bad trip, right?
Exactly. With almost anything, Yeah. So anyway, we have just a nice smattering of podcasts throughout the week. And so don't just check out Q&A with Leyla, although that's one of my favorites. That's every week, but we have great guests throughout the week. So anyway, we have a question from somebody with a sky-high cholesterol.
Yeah, this comes from June. Hi, Dr. Hoffman and Leyla. I'm a 79-year-old woman who's been on a keto or low-carb diet for years, and each year my cholesterol levels rise. The total is 532. My HDL is a 98. My triglycerides are 63. Bravo. My LDL is 421.
LDL 421. Okay, so let's just look at what the guidelines are.
Oh,
The guidelines, and again, I think guidelines are need to be interpreted on an individual basis, but
yes.
guidelines call for LDL cholesterol to be under 130 for
Yes.
someone with no risk. For
Mm-hmm.
someone who has higher risk, like
Yes.
someone who has had a heart attack or has had a stent or a bypass, they want your LDL 70 or even 50 or less. And there are now drugs
Yeah.
that can really knock it way down.
Mm-hmm.
So hers is, remind me, it's what?
Yeah.
400?
Yeah. 421 is her LDL.
Mm-hmm.
However, her HDL is a 98, her triglycerides are
Okay.
63.
So,
That tells us she's doing keto correctly if her triglycerides are that low,
right.
which is,
Okay. Exactly.
yeah.
So she's on a keto diet, which is presumably a high fat, high cholesterol diet because it's hard to
Yeah.
achieve a keto diet on a plant-based diet. So
Right.
she is an example of uh, an LMHR. And you can
Lean
tell us what
mass.
you can
Yes.
tell us what
Yeah.
that is. What is that?
Lean mass hyperresponder. She's a lean mass hyperresponder.
And so what that
Mm-hmm.
is, as you well know, if someone comes into the place you used to work at, which is the Atkins Center with Dr. Robert Atkins,
Mm-hmm.
and many of his patients were overweight, pre-diabetic, maybe they had a hemoglobin A1C of 6.3, so they're right on the knocking on the door of type 2 diabetes, and they had a
Yeah.
triglyceride of like 320, and they
Mm-hmm.
had an HDL of 35, and they had a cholesterol of, let's say, 210,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they would go on this type of diet. And
Yeah.
what would happen is they would lose a lot of weight on a
Mm-hmm.
very low carb diet, uh, and their cholesterol would get better. Their cholesterol would come down.
Yes.
Why? Because when you reduce your triglycerides, your cholesterol comes down. And you reduce your
Yes.
cholesterol, or your triglycerides mostly with a low carb diet. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then their risk factor for cardiovascular disease much improved, much
Yeah.
improved.
Yeah.
Even when they're eating, the stuff that Atkins would condone. He said, eat a steak, eat
Yeah.
chicken with the skin, eat cheese,
Mm-hmm.
but
Eat
don't eat
bacon.
any carbs. Get into
Don't eat any
ketosis,
carbs. Right.
ketogenic diet. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's the most common response to that diet. But there's a
Mm-hmm.
subtype of people who are metabolically healthy
Yeah.
and they get a very high cholesterol. Now, the consequences of that for cardiovascular risk are highly debated and controversial. So it used
Mm-hmm.
to be said, and I remember the days, because I kind of started when Dr. Atkins was in his ascendancy in the
Mm-hmm.
1980s and 90s. He was already
Yeah.
celebrity doc. And people used to say, well, yeah, sure, the diet makes you lose weight, but do you want to be a lean corpse? It's going to
Mm.
kill you. It's going to kill you
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to
Mm-hmm.
clog your arteries. Now, that's on the premise that this diet sometimes can raise your cholesterol if you are
Yeah.
an LMHR, a lean mass hyperresponder.
Yeah.
Now, I recently looked at a case report from a guy who was on a ketogenic diet,
Mm-hmm.
and he he's a lean mass hyperresponder. His cholesterol is like over 400,
Yeah.
and his LDL is unacceptably high, like 300. And what he said is, I'm going to do a coronary artery calcium scan and see if it's consequential for me. He said, I've been on this diet for 10 years. I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a zero. It was a zero.
Ah.
So even with the high
Yeah.
cholesterol, he had.
Right.
So what it suggests is that cholesterol is not entirely the name of the game. It's a factor, but there
Yeah.
may be other protective factors, especially when one is lean and active
Yes.
and metabolically healthy, and hemoglobin A1C is good, inflammation is down, all those things are controlled, that's good. Now, key piece of information, two pieces. One, how old is this lady? And
79.
79. All right, so number one, it would be more disconcerting if she was 39, because that would mean that
Yeah.
she's got another, maybe, she's lucky 50 years,
Yeah.
of experiencing an exceedingly high cholesterol that can affect the arterial walls. I mean, if cholesterol,
Right.
Cholesterol does have potentially a toxic effect on the arterial walls. It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There,
The other piece of
there is.
information.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to say coronary artery calcium scan. She had it, right?
She had one. It was a 31 a few years ago. She's going to have another one because her primary doctor detected a heart murmur, and the echocardiogram showed mild to moderate aortic stenosis.
Okay.
And her doctor said, unless the LDL comes down, this is going to it's going to accelerate.
Okay, so
Stenosis.
now aortic stenosis is associated with the deposition of calcium around your heart valve. And it is related to your cholesterol level, but there's not a lot of evidence that taking a statin or a cholesterol-lowering drug will prevent you from getting it as you get older. It's almost like a feature of aging, just like you get calcium in your shoulder sometimes, from aging. Calcification occurs as part of an aging process, as part of, the sheer stress of your blood going through that valve, literally millions and millions and millions of times through your lifespan. So I don't think the argument is not, are you going to slow the progression of the aortic stenosis by going on a cholesterol-lowering drug? I don't think that's necessarily the case. However, there is an argument to be made that she has the beginning of plaque. And if she is otherwise healthy, she might live another, 15 or 20 years. 15 or 20 years, she could have a plaque score, of 200, then 500, then 800, then 1200, and then ultimately have heart disease. But I actually think this is an interesting case because I'm actually surprised at how low her plaque score is. Now, it is a plaque score.
It was a few years ago. It was 31.
Right.
And she's going to have another one and a CIMT scan to show the amount of soft plaque.
That would be prudent. That's in the carotid arteries. That's in the carotid because another concern is, maybe heart's not so bad, but she could be at risk for stroke. So this is really
June is
kind of a dilemma.
Opposed to taking a statin drug.
Yeah, and I would say.
What are your thoughts? What's your opinion?
Yeah, I'm not that vehement, about it.
It's going to depend on the latest CAC score because she's going to go have one. Yes.
Yeah. And, I would say it's kind of an interesting case because, sometimes, as Yogi Berra once said, if you come to a fork in the road, take it, and people get really bent out of shape about these decisions. Like, should I take the statin or should I not take the statin? Actually, I think it's kind of a little bit 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm not opposed to her taking a statin if she wants a bit of an insurance policy, because that is a rip-roaring high cholesterol, and that might ultimately create a problem with not so much the aortic valve, but with her coronary arteries or with her carotid arteries. But if she already has calcification of her aortic valve, Mick Jagger had calcification of his aortic valve, and he had the surgery, which is now called TAVRs, and you see him performing like he's 30 years old, bouncing around on the stage. This is actually an age-related problem.
Okay.
And not necessarily I don't think Mick Jagger had exceedingly high cholesterol. I mean, just look at him. I mean, he looks like he's extremely lean. So, I would say, but here's the thing though, why should people be vehemently opposed to taking a statin? Is there such a strong, compelling reason not to take a statin in this case?
Well, I could think of 2 reasons, Hoffman, actually.
Sure. Yeah.
One of them is you and I have had a long discussion in previous podcasts recently that the way a statin works is by causing calcification of soft plaque, which is the real danger.
Right. Yeah, but actually that stabilizes plaque.
Stabilizes it, right.
Yeah. That stabilizes plaque.
Which begs the question, when we're getting a CAC score, you're looking at stable plaque, so wouldn't that be good news? But I guess then you have to compare it to the soft plaque.
Well, what she could do, I mean, to really be the tiebreaker, but you might have to pay out of pocket, is to get a coronary artery angiogram with plaque estimation. And what that does is it looks at the quality of the plaque. It looks at the dangerous plaque versus the calcified stable plaque.
Right. That's the gold standard, isn't it? Because that's a true picture. But
it's not quite accepted by insurance companies yet. So in a case where people really want to do, fine differentiation about their risk, if they don't just trust the coronary artery calcium scan and they need a tiebreaker, that could be shed some light on it. But okay, but here's the thing. When it comes to statins, what are the harms of statins? Number one, in some people, they can cause cognitive problems, but that's relatively rare. And I got to say, I've looked at the studies. I know you can raise your hand. You can show you have. We've had instances together.
I want to tell you a story. Yes,
no, we've had instances where we've had patients where we've taken them off statins unnecessarily. Like, hey, if you have Parkinson's disease and you're on a statin, hey, what's the reason for you to be on a statin? Right. If your life expectancy is not that great and you have an opportunity to improve, or if you have dementia or something like that, why be on a statin? Statins. Right. But net, and this is I don't believe this is a whitewash. I look at the studies, and the studies show that there's a neutral effect of statins on dementia. Why? Because some people get protection against dementia because some dementia is due to atherosclerosis, and they get some protection from that. And other people get an acceleration of cognitive problems because you actually sometimes somewhat reducing the production of cholesterol in the brain. You are. By the way, the newer drugs, the PCSK9 drugs, do not reduce cholesterol in the brain. And they've actually been shown to be safer from the standpoint of the other problem that you can get with statins.
That's a better idea then.
Yeah. Sure. The other problem you can get with statins, and one of the reasons why I really wouldn't want to take a statin, even though my cholesterol is a little high. My cholesterol runs 230. I don't have any plaque, according to the last plaque check that I have, zero plaque. So why take it? I'm not going to get much protection. But the other reason is that it somewhat can cause muscle pain, aches and pains. Sure. And, I got actually some younger people who are pretty athletic that I know, even in my family, who have started to take statins on the recommendation of their doctor. And I've approved because they have high cardiovascular risk. And
here's another scenario.
But what I was going to say, just let me finish. Is I want to see if they're seeing that they're feeling pooped out or tired or achy from it.
Right. If they're suffering any side effects.
But anyway, go ahead. You have instances.
Yeah. I have a family member who's been taking Lipitor, tender age of 60, taking Lipitor for prevention because they found a little bit of plaque. Right.
Okay.
So she decided to take it. Well, sometime later, she had an incident of transient global amnesia.
There was an astronaut who had that. There was a famous astronaut who had that.
Really?
And, yes, okay. and he stopped the statin and he was okay. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. They did not advise her to stop the statin.
Oh, man.
So she's continuing to take the statin. They didn't even say, oh, this is because you're on Lipitor. Nobody said anything, which made me jump up and down in front of her and say, you really need to reevaluate it. And she just...
Especially if she's at minor risk. If she's at minor risk. I mean, it's not like she's had a heart attack or she had a bypass or anything like that.
She's in good health.
That's why I say it's like, if you come to a fork in the road, take it. It's not such a big deal. There's a little bit of protection and there's a little bit of risk. And, don't get all fatutzed about it.
Right. That's a good word. Fatutzed about it.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
But, I got to say that I would say, wouldn't you say that about 10 or 20% of the questions we get are second opinions on whether to take a statin? It's such I think people make such a big deal out of it.
Yeah. Well, it is a big deal because their doctors are insisting.
Yeah. Well, doctors are insisting. I mean, that's like medical gaslighting. Like, hey, it's like you have freedom of choice in America. And, you can choose to drink yourself to death, smoke yourself to death, or you can choose to say, no, thanks, I'm not going to take a statin. And I'll take nattokinase and I'll exercise and, I'm going to use natural things. But I think it's foolish if you've had a heart attack or if you have had a stent or a bypass, or if you're at extraordinarily high risk, if you have like a coronary artery calcium scan of 1600 or something. Yeah. Pull a trigger on it. Take it. Take the darn thing, and especially if the younger you are, the more sense it makes. If you're like 82 years old and they say, oh, your cholesterol's a little high, we're going to lower it. Like, what good is it going to do? It's not going to, how
Right.
much more is it going to extend your life? You'll die of something
Yeah.
else.
Right. Right. That's true. That's true.
Well, okay.
June, thank you for your very
We
thoughtful
went
question.
long and deep on
Yeah.
this one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But anyhow, June, that's a long answer, but get your new calcium score, and that should probably inform you and your doctor
Oh,
about
it's going to be
what
worse.
decision you'll make.
It's going to be
Yeah.
worse. It's going to be
Yeah.
worse. And, I think your doctor's humoring you and say, well, get another one. And he's kind of like knows that it's going to be worse, and that's going to persuade you to do what he recommends. But
Right.
will it won't necessarily forestall your a valve replacement surgery.
Right.
I
You'll
don't
be like Mick Jagger,
exactly.
maybe. Oh gosh. Good health to you,
He's
June.
what? He's like, I think he's 82 now.
I think so.
Yeah.
Same age as Paul McCartney, I believe.
And same age as Keith Richards, which is the remarkable survival.
No.
Remarkable survival.
Yeah,
So if you want to live to 82, smoke, drink, and take heroin.
Oh no. Oh no. No thanks. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You might just have an extraordinary constitution, but whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. And love your work.
Yeah.
Love your work.
Yeah.
Hey, like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think it's a good time to hear from one of our sponsors.
It is about time. Yeah. Okay. We went long on that. So here we go. Please listen up. You know that feeling when everything just clicks? Your mind is sharp, your mood is steady, your body feels like it's firing on all cylinders. That's not luck. That's what your body is capable of every single day. Now, I've looked into a lot of fish oil supplements, and honestly, most of them are mystery sourced, overprocessed, blasted with heat, and packed with synthetic add-ins. But this one is different. Omega-3 Rejuvenate from Big Bold Health starts with wild Alaskan salmon and cod, sustainably caught from some of the cleanest waters on the planet, and then it's processed at low temperatures to preserve what actually matters. We're talking about real omega-3s, naturally occurring vitamins A and D, and pro-resolving mediators, or PRMs, that help your body balance its own immune response. What does that mean for you? Clearer thinking, more stable mood, and real nature-based support for your heart and immune system. No shortcuts, no synthetic nonsense. And it was developed by Dr. Jeffrey Bland, a true pioneer in the world of complementary health. If you want to feel the difference, go to bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman. That's bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman and use code Hoffman for 20% off site-wide. Once you feel it, you'll know. Ever walk into a room and forget why you're there? Lose your train of thought mid-sentence? Feel like your brain is running on fumes by 2 in the afternoon? Try Kyolic Specialty Series Smart Mushrooms Plus. This isn't caffeine. It's not some jittery stimulant that crashes you an hour later. This is a clean, science-backed formula built around certified organic lion's mane mushrooms, clinically shown to support the nerve growth factor that actually helps your brain maintain and organize neurons. We're talking real foundational support for focus and mental clarity, and it doesn't stop there. It's combined with Kyolic Aged Garlic Extract, aged up to 20 months on organic California farms, plus Aronia Berry Extract, selenium, and vitamin B12 for long-term brain health and executive function. 2 capsules with a meal, once a day, vegan, non-GMO, no gluten, no dairy, no artificial anything. Kyolic Smart Mushrooms Plus from Wakanaga. Learn more about this and the entire Kyolic Mushrooms Plus line at kyolic.com. That's KYOLIC.com. Look for Kyolic at natural health stores nationwide and online. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. They are what make intelligent medicine a continuing free resource to you. And now, back to our questions.
Gary writes, Dear Dr. Hoffman, I can't think of a better person to write a book. Ever consider writing a book about health as we get older?
Okay.
Gary himself is 75.
Okay, so actually, I wrote that book, and that book ended up being called Intelligent Medicine. That book was written in the 90s, I think the late 90s, and it wasn't my first book. It was, I don't know, third or fourth book. And what would happen to that book was I thought I had a great title for it. The Baby Boomers Repair Manual. Because
Oh,
at the
that's catchy.
time,
Yeah.
I was approaching, I guess, 50. I was in
Hmm.
my 40s. Yeah, do the math there. Yeah. And, the wheels were starting to come off for me and some of my peers in the baby boom generation. And I thought, this is like a huge demographic. What I mean, that's like 60 million baby boomers or something like that.
Mm.
And they are very health conscious and they have more of a attitude towards an expectancy that they should have unlimited horizons of health, unlike our parents and our grandparents' generation,
Right.
who are kind of reconciled to dying young. If you died at
Yeah.
60 or something, it was like, okay, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
no biggie.
Baby
But we
boomers are having none of that.
having none of that. We just won't put up with that. And
Right.
so that was the title of the book. And then it went to Simon and Schuster. And Simon Schuster said, yeah, we don't really like that title because we want the book to have a wider audience. So they sat
Mm.
around at the table and in committee, they decided, well, let's call it intelligent medicine.
Mm.
And then it's more
That's
generic and
catchy.
that will have a
Yeah.
wider audience. And I was like, I protested, but I just ultimately relented because they were the publishers and it was called intelligent medicine. So fast
Hmm.
forward, I've written a lot of books. I had an experience during COVID where I wanted to write a book about natural therapies for COVID.
Hmm.
And I wrote a great proposal. And I worked with someone that you've worked with, Dr. Dana Cohen. We
Yes.
co-wrote the proposal.
Hmm.
And we had a great agent, like when you write a book, you have to have a powerhouse agent who has connections with all the major publishers. And
Yeah.
she got like famous people published. And they didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. This was in the
Oh.
age of misinformation and disinformation. So
Uh-huh.
anything that smacked of talking about anything other than, uh, you know, uh, medication or vaccination and talked about natural was anathema. So they shot
Oh,
it down. And we put a
too
lot of
bad.
work into the proposal, and I was very disappointed. So it's kind
Yeah.
of put me off of writing books these days.
Hmm.
Now, you can also virtually self-publish a book, but
Yeah.
it takes
Publishers are gatekeepers.
a lot of effort, and I'm
Yeah.
continuously writing. And
Hmm.
every
Yeah.
week I write like a 1,200 word
Yeah.
article, and
Yeah.
it's in our newsletter. And that's the way you can kind of get my running commentary on things. So that's the way I prefer to write.
Hmm.
Uh, and
Hmm.
so and by the way, I think books are kind of passe. People don't get
Mm.
their information from books too much anymore.
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
that more people get, stuff in social media and via Reddit and,
Hmm.
places like that, and that's how I'm getting the information out, which I
Yeah.
prefer now, you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Yeah.
effort, not a lot of return.
Hmm.
The first book I ever wrote got my biggest advance, and then it was progressively less. And then
Uh-huh.
this is interesting. It got to the point where they said, how much are you willing to pay to promote your book? That's how the publishing
Oh,
industry has morphed.
boy.
It used to be like, oh, they'll give you an
Yeah.
advance, $50,000, $100,000. You can make
Hmm.
money writing a book. Now it's like, unless you are, uh, big, like, example of, really popular author, they have the big advances.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're sort of like a Midland celebrity,
Hmm.
uh, they want you to pay to play. And that's, I'm not
Yeah.
that anxious
Not
to
interested.
invest. Yeah.
Right. Right. It is a huge effort. It's a huge undertaking. And yeah, you have to think twice about it, right? But you've written other books. You've written 7 Weeks to a Settled Stomach.
Tired all the time, how to regain your lost energy,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Gary, there are some books there for you to
The
read.
diet type weight loss program, which was about dietary
Yeah.
individuality. Some people benefit from one type of diet and other people benefit
Hmm.
from another type of diet. And,
Yeah.
so there's, I've written a book
Mitral
on
valve prolapse. How to talk to your
natural
doctor.
therapies for Lyme disease, How to
How to
Talk to Your
Talk to Your
Doctor About
Doctor.
Complementary and Alternative Medicine. Those books are out there, but I
Yeah.
haven't, it's been, it's been a while since the early 2000s since I wrote a book.
Right, right. Gary, there
But
you
thanks.
go.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a question from Danny. You include lithium orotate in your brain health protocol at about 20 milligrams. Yet on the radio show, you didn't seem that enthused about it, and you stated that one might not want to take more than 10 milligrams. Would you
Yeah,
explain this?
I don't think that's really well established. I think I listed a product there that's 20 milligrams. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's too much. I mean, given that
Right.
people take lithium carbonate at 300, 600, 900, that's where you get the toxicity associated with lithium.
Uh-huh.
We actually don't know there haven't been long-term human studies, there have been animal studies using the equivalent dose of lithium in animals, like they try and scale it for the weight of the
Right.
animal. And uh, the, so, 5, 10, 20,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not 100, maybe not, that much, might be the sweet spot for cognitive preservation.
Mm-hmm.
But until long-term human trials are done, which will take a long time because what
Yeah.
the way you'd have to design such a study is you would take people with MCI, mild cognitive impairment,
Mm-hmm.
and then you would give them the lithium for what, 5 years? It'd take 5 years,
Right. And
and
follow them.
then you'd
Mm-hmm.
have to follow them, and maybe you could try different doses. You could say, well, let's try 5, 10, 15. We'd have to have the numbers. A lot of
Right.
people recruited to that study,
Mm-hmm.
and it would probably be like maybe a multi-center study that you have to get collaboration between a lot of different universities and
Yeah.
hospitals
Yeah.
doing the study. And it could be really expensive. And what drug company is going to pay for something that's an over-the-counter,
Nobody.
right?
Nobody. Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
it's a pharmaceutical
Yeah.
drug, yeah,
Mm-hmm. That would be different, certainly.
so there's a little medical economics there.
Right. Right. Danny, there you go. Okay. All right. We've got a question from Martha. This is our last question, Dr. Hoffman. Must I exercise fasted? Why? What's the
Okay.
benefit? Oh, well, yeah, especially in the morning. That would be the best time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not a morning person, try to become a morning person because you do want to exercise fasting. Your insulin levels are lower at that time. You want to keep that going. That's when you could really get your glucagon up and your fat burning going and
Yeah.
all of that. Exercising fasted is actually better for your insulin levels rather than eating to go to the gym.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, you just bumped up your insulin. Why did you do that? Because you bumped up your fat storage hormone. You don't want to do that before a workout.
Right.
You want it to already be low.
So yeah,
For
in
one
terms
thing.
of fat burning, if you eat before you exercise, in effect, you're like introducing usually glucose because they're going to have some carbs. So this carbo loading right before an event
Yeah.
is more for Tour de France exercisers. As a matter of fact, there's a statistic on Tour de France exercisers is that they have to continually consume various carbohydrates during the thing because they expend 10,000 calories
Yeah.
in one day of racing. And so they're going to bonk, they're going to hit the wall. So they're continually, you see them, the cars pull up, they offer them a little bag,
Yeah.
and in the satchel is, some bars and some liquid that's usually sweetened. And then
Yes.
they just drink it down like a hummingbird, and it gets into their muscles and provides them with the glycogen that's necessary for performance. But for people who ordinarily exercise, and I mean, I wake up, I have a cup of tea, and lately, because I'm a little bit suspicious of some of these artificial sugars, even there's some knocks on
Even stevia.
even stevia, even erythritol, not that crazy about it. There's a study recently that shows, adverse effects from virtually all of them. I put a little sugar in my tea and, like half a teaspoon for a little sweetening. And then I'm off to exercise fasting, and I don't put sugar in my exercise bottle. But then again, I don't go, I'm not, cycling 150 kilometers per day, or
Right.
200 kilometers.
Yeah.
I'll do like a, 20 or 25-mile bike ride, or
Yeah.
take a mile swim or something. And the duration of that is under 2 hours.
Yeah.
And usually 2 hours may be the break point. I mean, if I'm going to do a race or something and it's going to be a long thing, yeah, I'll have some, like oatmeal or
Sure.
something before. Um, and
A, a note to people who are not as metabolically fit as Dr. Hoffman, the recommendation for those people would be to drink their tea straight up, because otherwise they may be
yeah,
overstimulating insulin, which
yeah,
is
yeah,
working
exactly,
against them.
exactly. Right, because it adds up, sugar
Yeah,
to
yeah, it
sugar.
can. Yeah.
But I kind of pay it forward on
Yeah.
that and have
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the ability to tolerate some of that.
Over 60% of American adults are not metabolically fit. They have some level of metabolic abnormality. So we're talking differently.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
yeah.
actually saw a study that was like 90%.
Oh boy.
So it's
Yeah.
very few
It's
people
really
are really
something.
tuned up. So what I can say is that uh, you have to, you almost have to cultivate the ability to wake up and spend some time getting ready to exercise and then exercise, because
Hmm.
some people just, they wake up hungry, and you have to actually
Yeah.
gradually. Now, over the many, many years, I've gotten used to the idea of exercising in a fasting state.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's generally good for fat burning. You burn down
Yes.
your fat
You're
faster.
burning more fat when you
I will also
exercise
point out
fasting.
that there are effects on appetite that are interesting with exercise. Is sometimes, and especially if I've got, like, if it's like raining or really cold, I'll wait till it warms up. Or, if I got an exercise class that's later and it's actually hard, I'm get hungry, and I say, let me
Sure.
hold off, and not eat, because it might, I don't know, if I'm too full, it's going to mess up my exercise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, because you feel a little bogged down, weighed down.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
what'll happen is, after the exercise, I'm less hungry than before.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
actually, exercise to some extent attenuates appetite. That's been shown scientifically. You get a little bit of activation of your sympathetic nervous system,
Get a
which
little adrenaline going. Yeah.
which actually has a bit of a suppressive effect on exercise. Now,
Hmm.
when I stop, like, I'll take a shower, and maybe I'll read some email, and like an hour later, like today was an example because I swam a long distance. I got home, I showered, I had some chores to do, uh, and I wasn't really hungry. And then I was really hungry.
Famished.
I had that kind of muscle hunger. It was
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Your
my
muscles are saying you have to feed me now. You
really,
just did all those laps. You need to feed me now. Now's the time.
yeah. So,
Right, right.
uh, but it's really interesting, the intersection between diet and exercise, and
Yeah.
exercise physiology and exercise nutrition is really
Hmm.
a science unto itself. And if you want to uh, study a little more, just read about the Tour de France and read about the regimen that they undertake for the most extreme form of exertion. I
Yeah.
think, there's a lot of sports out there to watch, and I think we were all kind of diverted by the soccer, the football. I watched a lot of soccer and
Right.
football,
A lot of people
uh,
do. Yeah.
and it was
Surprising.
fun. But
Hmm.
go every year around this time is the Tour de France, and
Hmm.
it is the premier event that explores the limits of human endurance and the limits of human energy production. And what it boils down to is this thing called watts per kilogram. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And it's a little bit like, if you put a big, powerful engine in a little tiny sports car, it's going to go fast. And what
Yeah.
these athletes try to do is they try to minimize their weight
Hmm.
without losing power.
Yeah.
And their ability to harness power for a low body weight is
Hmm.
incredible. It's just it is,
Really is something.
in terms of watts per kilogram, just statistic. You've got these Tour de France exercise contestants,
Hmm.
like Tadej Pogacar, who's wins it. He's like the perennial winner, and he's winning this year's. He generates 6 watts per kilogram of power, uh,
Wow.
and when I exercise, and I check myself out on the spin bike. If I get up to 2, that's a lot for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll average just a little over 1, for over a sustained period of time.
Wow.
This guy, he's also, 28 years old. 6 times, or maybe 4 or 5 times, the ability to generate energy per his body weight.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
fascinating.
It's really something.
Yeah.
Look at it that
Talk
way.
about good mitochondria. Yeah.
Great mitochondria at 28 years old. Hey, okay.
Yeah. But also, I like a real specimen, because here you have, there's millions and millions of recreational bicyclists. There's some that are professional bicyclists. There are only a select few that make it to the Tour de France. And then among them, you have the apex. And that is the fittest individual on the planet, with like a VO2 max that's in the 90s. Oh my God.
That's something. That is really something.
Whereas an average adult VO2 max, maybe, 30, 30, 40 for conditioned athlete. Anyway, good stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
So
a reminder to everybody to email your questions to questions@drhoffman.net. And by the way, don't forget, you could also follow Dr. Ronald Hoffman on Facebook and Twitter, which is X, for the latest health news and fully vetted product recommendations.
Also some good cartoons. Yeah.
Also some good cartoons. Otherwise, you can absolutely, any time of day or night, shop hundreds of curated vetted supplements in his full script dispensary. Go to drhoffmanstore.com. So don't forget to go there, drhoffmanstore.com.
Don't forget to support our sponsors, and also check out questions@drhoffman.net if you have a question or comment and want to be part of the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Hoffman.
I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Thanks, Leyla. I want to thank you for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, and get new episodes automatically downloaded every weekday. And please give us a rating and review. It truly helps new people discover intelligent medicine. The Intelligent Medicine Podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Finally, please visit drhoffman.com and discover everything intelligent medicine has to offer, including frequently updated, unbiased health news and fully vetted product and supplement recommendations.
This is Leyla Muden, registered dietitian nutritionist. I maintain a private practice and see patients regularly. If you require a nutrition consult with me but live out of town, there's no need to travel to New York City. I have telephone and telehealth consultations with clients from all over the country. Please visit drhoffman.com for more information. And to set up an appointment, call 212-779-1744. That's 212-779-1744. I look forward to being a collaborator in your healthcare.